need to help me. Right now.
A betrayer. A boy who leaves his family to struggle and rot and get gobbled up by competitors. For him, I don't need to help shit.
Hey guys, what's up? Ryan and Gaz here, and we're breaking down Preacher Season 3 all year long, starting with Episode 1, Angelville.
Yeah, but before we get started, be sure to subscribe to GameSpot Universe, where we have all your TV breakdowns, comic book deep dives, and we even have the history of Preacher available right now. All right, guys, before we get started, if you haven't caught up to Season 3, Episode 1 of Preacher, be sure and watch that first, or we're gonna get a little spoilery here as we talk about it.
Also, there are some comic book spoilers as well, so do yourself a favor, go back and read some of those books and then come back. All right, before we jump into Season 3, Episode 1 of Preacher, let's do a quick little refresher or recap from last season. Of course, we left last season with Tulip dying in the arms of Jesse and Cassidy. Jesse's power, the Word of God, no longer worked because he didn't have his entire soul. That is actually in the possession of Herr Starr and the Grail. By the way, Herr Starr actually wants Jesse to become the new Almighty, but Jesse isn't quite sold on that. Now, things are not good between Cassidy and Jesse. In fact, Cassidy hates him for letting Tulip die. Cassidy wanted to turn Tulip into a vampire, but Jesse was not having that. They basically hate each other and they're headed towards Angelville. And finally, God is somewhere out there on a bender in his dog costume. And last time we saw him, he was actually in a hotel room with a ton of empty beer cans. All right, on to Season 3, and it's called Angelville, which is awesome. We're finally introduced to Angelville, which plays a significant spot in the comics. What'd you think?
I loved it. Like, just from the get-go, it's such a gorgeous countryside, but there's such an air of creepiness to it.
Yes, definitely.
Like, the moment they enter the house and it feels all abandoned and he's calling for his grandma, you can just feel this air just surrounding that whole place.
And before that, we get a little kind of background on what happened. The cold open starts years back with Christina Langell as she's trying to keep her son a secret from Grandma and Jody and TC. Obviously, that's not exactly how it happens in the comics, but it was effective to kind of set the stage and show how menacing of a villain Grandma is.
Yeah, like the way she did it out of love, and yet her love is so twisted in her own way.
Mama, you wouldn't. You love me.
More than anything.
Can we give a shout out to the actors playing all three of those characters too? Grandma is totally creepy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Jody's a complete badass as he is in the comics. And then TC is just a total weirdo.
Oh yeah, like magnificently so. Like just the way he said little Jesse the moment he walked in, just chills down the spine.
Little Jesse? Little Jesse? Little Jesse? Miss Maureen! Look what the cat called for.
Now, as I said, in the comics, this whole interaction with Grandma and Jesse happens a lot differently.
It does. So in the comics, they actually find them away from Angelville and actually drag them all back, nearly killing the dad, but the moment they found out that they had a son together, they bring them back over to Angelville so that way they could be properly watched over by Grandma there.
Right, and I think that didn't they force them to marry?
They forced him to marry and essentially forced him to be this unit under them, under their supervision. Like they could not leave Angelville again. And if they were to leave, they would kill him.
All right, so fast forward years later, we have Jesse and Tulip and Cassidy arriving there, and he's screaming out for Grandma, like you said. And then a huge moment between Cassidy and Jesse. We've been waiting for this for an entire last season, but he basically revealed to Jesse that they had slept together, that Tulip and Cassidy had slept together.
It's about time. Like all the cards are finally on the table, and if their friendship's ever gonna be patched, at least now they know everything that's going on. They can actually work through this, or maybe friendship over.
Yeah, I knew that he would flip out when he heard this news, and I don't think their relationship will ever be the same.
I don't think it can be.
It's like that soft spot for him, you know? Like
Yeah.
Tulip's like the love of his life, and Cassidy, you can clearly tell that he's infatuated and really has love for Tulip.
Yeah, and we're gonna see how Grandma tries to exploit that soon.
Now, after a little bit of negotiating, Grandma finally agrees to help Jesse bring Tulip back to life, or attempt to do so, but it does so at a cost. He has to
Yeah.
give her some blood.
Yeah, I think that blood pact is a whole lot more significant than just simply agreeing to do it. He even tried to say, I can back out, but I think the fact that he had to give up blood means that she might have his life in her hands now. In the same way that she can bring people back from the dead from just toenail clippings, that blood has got to be significant for someone of her abilities.
Yeah, I definitely think that Jesse's going to regret, we find out that it does work and it does bring her back, but that's an awful lot to give up. Grandma is a twisted person and she now controls your own life, I guess? Question for you though, when you're given blood, do you have to slice your entire hand, like the entire palm? It's an awful lot of blood and your hand is pretty much done for the day or a couple days.
It seems like the most painful way to do it.
Yeah, can't you just do a little finger prick and give some blood? That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then because this is a very Tulip-centric episode, we get Purgatory and Tulip's time in Purgatory. What'd you think about all that?
I thought it was a very unique take on it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they're just in this dark room that almost felt like a TV sitcom with a laugh box and everything.
Yeah. It's like a dark I Love Lucy or something like that.
Yeah, as she just had to relive her life and rewatch some of the most traumatic moments with her and her dad growing up.
I think it's perfect for this show because they did an excellent job with Hell, obviously last season, and to show the space that you're in when you're not neither in heaven, hell, or you're alive. You're in this purgatory. It was a loop of your worst memories, as you said, and we find out actors playing those roles in your life. Now, in order to bring her back to life, Grandma needed some of her favorite things.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see some of those pop up in Purgatory.
Yeah, as they brought it over, it just manifested on the table, the blueberries on the table,
Yeah.
her favorite song displaying on the TV. It was just a really cool touch to show how they're actually interacting with her in Purgatory while clashing with death literally at the door.
Banging on the door, yeah. That was awesome. And also, a couple things we noticed later on, you hear Ms. Mannering's voice from Little Tulip. It drops down and basically says that she's just a reenactment, but the connection between hell and purgatory, it was very cool to kind of see how it all explained itself in this episode.
What about you?
I'm a reenactor. I work here.
I need you for everything.
Jesse?
Everything to my entire life.
All right, now one of the biggest problems that I had, I don't know if you had as well, was bringing back Tulip really didn't work because it wasn't much of a cliffhanger. We knew that she really wasn't going to stay dead. It's like the Infinity War. It's the Infinity War problem with deaths. There's no stakes at all.
Yeah, they kind of foreshadowed the crap out of it, to be quite honest. The whole last episode last season showed Jesse as a kid bringing back that chicken to life from his grandma. So, the fact that we see him going to Angelville already, we know that he's going there to bring back Tulip. And it kind of downplayed the whole significance of that cliffhanger.
Yeah, we knew that she was going to be alive and she'd come back. Another thing is that in the comics, it happens a lot differently.
Yeah.
Jesse and Tulip are snatched up by Grandma, Jody, and TC years later, and then they kill Tulip. And then God is the one that brings Tulip back to life.
Correct. And in this case, it was the opposite. It was actually Grandma who brought Tulip back to life and had nothing to do with the death. It was actually with Featherstone who did it this time. And it was an interesting take because now God still gave her a message, but he wasn't the one bringing her back.
Listen to me carefully, Tulip O'Hare, for I want you to get the...
All right, so let's talk about that visit from God. Just before she comes back to life, she sees God in the dog costume. And we did a little bit of Googling, a little bit of Reddit research, and put the subtitles on. Get those sons of bitches, which is what we heard in Purgatory.
Right.
What Little Tulip learned from her dad as they're fighting off the cops.
Let's get those sons of bitches.
Who could he possibly be talking about?
I mean, there's so many possibilities as to who he could be talking about. It could be anyone who's after God. It could be the Grail. It could even be Jody, TC, and Grandma.
Right.
It could even be, if it's off the comics, these angel group, the Seraphi, who are still there.
Yeah. I like the idea of God just leave me alone. Anyone who's trying to track me down, just get them away. Take care of them. Now, there was one moment right here when she looks at Cassidy.
Yeah, she had almost a longing look for him. Like, who knows if maybe Grandma already kind of put her under that love potion spell. Like, she almost kind of looked at him like, I kind of want you.
I think there's still some feelings between those two that are gonna have to get sorted out in the next few episodes.
Agreed.
Now let's talk about another big moment in the episode when Jody and Jesse have a reunion when they first see each other. Quite an interesting dynamic between these two characters. Obviously, Jesse's dad was killed by Jody in the comics and in the TV show. So, a lot of tense buildup before they met each other, but Jody actually went with him and helped him.
Yeah. Like, in some weird way, it's almost a paternal bond. Like, Jody almost treats him like a son, but, like, teaches him through hardships. Like,
lots of tough love.
Lots of tough love. And, like, we saw that, like, when he essentially forces, like, him to fight, like, outside the yard, and then even almost slammed the car on him. It's like to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, he's just wanted to see if Jesse still had the fight in him.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, yeah, you can still hold your own against me. Yeah. I think the show did a really good job of showing just how powerful Jody is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a total badass in the comic as well. And not until later does Jesse get his revenge on them. But Jody early on before that, Jody goes over and kicks everyone's ass. At the London Lodge, I think it was.
Yeah, Madam Boyd's.
Yeah, so he kicks everyone's ass, doesn't need any help, and it just does a really good job of conveying how badass this guy is and how formidable of an opponent he's going to be for Jesse down the road.
Glad to see you still got a little bit of that buck wild left in you. You don't have enough to beat me.
Now, back when Tulip was still in purgatory, Cassidy goes into the room to check out on her, and Grandma's there. And then they have a little conversation about Grandma's past.
Right.
About this love spell that she used in order to take advantage of a man that was in her life. And then she ultimately killed that guy. So good job, Grandma. You're a horrible person. But I think you and I know where this is headed.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear how Cassidy feels about Tulip. Like,
Yeah.
he even told Jesse, which was the one thing he didn't want to do, about how he felt about her and their relationship. And the fact that now there's this love potion on the table. I mean, Dennis alluded to it like last season, where it's like, can you control yourself, Papa?
Right.
And we know for a fact that he cannot.
Right.
And so we're going to see how that plays out now, and it's going to lead to a big fight between him and Jesse coming up.
Totally, and it's a no-brainer. Grandma wants to get rid of Tulip and Cassidy, wants to get them out of the picture because she wants Jesse to stay put and help her in Angelville. It sounds like they've lost a lot of money, a lot of business to Madame Boyd and competitors in the area. So she wants nothing more than to get Cassidy and Tulip out of the picture. If she can get Cassidy to fall in love with Tulip, vice versa, and get them out, then total win-win situation for her.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get Jesse back under her control.
I'm so grateful that you brought Jesse back to us, Irish. If you ever wanted something in return, all you have to do is ask.
And now the episode ends with a conversation between Jesse and Grandma. Tulip is recovering, she's doing okay. And Jesse and Grandma have not the best conversation. Basically, she lets them know who's in charge.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out now, because, like, she has him under her control. Like, he owes her, and she's going to use it. Like, she even says that last line, like, Grandma loves you, which is exactly what she said to Christina.
Yeah, that was an awesome little bit. It's literally the same thing that she said to her daughter before they cut open into her and put her into the machine. Does not look good for Jesse, to be honest.
Grandma loves you more than anything.
All right, now it's time to talk about our favorite moments from the episode. What do you got?
For me, we touched on it earlier, but I love the purgatory. Like, just the way it felt like a sitcom, and it just felt like something you'd see, like, I think you had called it like a dark I Love Lucy theme. It was just so cool the way it actually contrasted everything together.
Totally, and like I said earlier, the show does such a good job of the hell and purgatory scenes. And then having like a live crowd there reacting to those things, it was really good. I just loved the introduction of Jody.
You could dress up like your daddy all you want, kid. You never look more like your mama than you do right now. Not to catch up on.
He was just a total badass in the comic books. And to see him on screen, like, you do not want to mess with this guy. Even Jesse can hold his own in a fight. And he's getting his ass beat.
Completely beaten. Like, he was such a badass. Like, from Madam Boyd to even that fight with Jesse, we see how powerful Jody really is.
And the action sequences themselves, a lot of blood flying everywhere, spraying here and there. It was just really well done and a lot of fun. Now time for some final thoughts, predictions, questions we might have. The biggest thing that I came away after watching this episode was, Jesse's faced a lot of formidable opponents. The Rogue Angels in the first season, the Saint of Killers, the Grail, Hair Star. But I don't think anything really can match Grandma, Jody, and TC.
She is so delightfully creepy and so menacing. And just with Jody and TC under her command, I don't know how Jesse's gonna get out of this.
She has the brute strength with those guys. She has the muscle in her family that can just take care of stuff. But now she also has that other wild card of the blood pact.
Yeah.
So for Jesse, it's gonna be a long season. And then the other thing is the relationship between him and Cassidy. They're like brothers for the first 2 seasons. That's gonna definitely be tested.
Yeah.
And Jesse needs all the help he can get, to be honest. So does not look good right now.
No, I mean, we're gonna have to see whether their friendship can come back from this, or whether by next season, whether they'll be driven apart from each other.
He definitely needs Cassidy's help to fight off everyone that's coming at him. And then our final question for this episode is, why did God choose Tulip to give the message to? And what does he actually want her to do?
It seems like it's gonna be different than the comics, and we've already seen this show is not afraid to venture off from the comic origins. So I'm actually curious to see what it is. Who does he want her to go after?
Yeah, guys, if you have any idea why God chose Tulip and what he wants her to do, let us know in the comments below, because it's still a little unclear to us. Also, make sure you come back next week. We're breaking down episode 2 of Preacher Season 3. Like and subscribe, do all that good stuff. We will see you next week.
Been gone a long time, and that's a lot of souls you owe me.
God is still missing. I need you to be the Messiah.
The lads in the white suits killed Tulip. We kill them all. Grandma, the Grail.
I'm going hunting.
Get on your knees.
It's good to be alive.